Hello, and welcome to Bear Action Productions. I'm John Stano, and this week's documentary is on Hernan Cortez and the Aztecs. There's a lot of historical events in this and a lot of information, so let's get to learning.
Our story begins with a man named Hernan Cortez. Hernan Cortez was born around 1495 in Medellin, Spain. In his earlier years, he came from a lesser noble family and lived a pretty normal life. It was in this house he lived as a child. Wow, this is such a beautiful house. There are so many amazing historical artifacts. This place is amazing. Wow, look at it. This is said to be Cortez's favorite toy when he was a kid. Looks pretty fun. Let's go back outside. In 1504, Cortez became curious about exploring the New World, so he left Spain to seek his fortune in the New World. He traveled to the island of Santo Domingo, or Hispaniola. Settling in the town of Azua, Cortez served as a notary for several years. Later, Cortez joined an expedition of Cuba led by Diego Velázquez in 1511. There, Cortez worked in the civil government and served as a mayor of Santiago for a long time. Seven years later, Cortez was to command his own expedition to Mexico, but Velázquez canceled it. Cortez ignored the order and set the sail for Mexico with more than 600 men, 16 horses, and a few cannons, with 11 ships to board. In February 1519, the expedition reached the Mexican coast. Cortez became allies with some of the native people he encountered, but he used deadly force against other natives to conquer Mexico. He fought Laxican and Cholula warriors and then set his sights on taking over the Aztec Empire. I'll catch you later. Watson out.
Hello, welcome back to our show. I hope you all have a wonderful day today. Our next part of our story will be about the Aztecs. The Aztecs were a nomadic tribe in northern Mexico that arrived in Mesoamerica around the beginning of the 13th century. They emerged as a dominant force in central Mexico, developing an intricate social, political, religious, and commercial organization that brought many of the religious city-states under their control by the 15th century. Although the origins of the Aztecs are uncertain, they are believed to have begun as a northern tribe of hunter-gatherers. Their arrival in the 13th century came after the fall of the previously dominant Mesoamerican civilization, the Toltecs. The Aztec people then built their settlement near the southwest border of Lake Texcoco.
It's okay. Keep on walking.
They drained swampy lands, built artificial islands in which they can grow gardens in their capital city, Tenochtitlan, in 1325 AD. Crops they grew on a regular were corn, beans, squash, potatoes, tomatoes, and avocados. Also, they fed themselves by fishing and hunting animals such as rabbits, armadillos, snakes, coyotes, and wild turkey. Their system of agriculture and powerful military traditions would enable the Aztecs to build a successful state and later an empire. In 1492, the Aztecs formed a three-way alliance with the Texcocans and the Tecumans to defeat their most powerful rivals for influence in the region, the Tepenec, to conquer their capital. Itzcoatl was the ruler of the time. After that, Montezuma took power in 1440. He was a great warrior and is commonly known for being the father of the Aztecs. Oh my! Wow. By the early 16th century, the Aztecs had come to rule over up to 500 small states and 5 to 6 million people. In addition, the Aztecs worshipped gods including Hutzi, god of war and the sun, and Quetzalcoatl, a Toltec god who served major important roles in the Aztec faith over the years.
That's amazing.
After many decades of Aztecs conquering neighboring cities and empires, it finally came to an end. In 1519, the Aztecs were faced with the threat of Hernan Cortez. In the long run, the Aztecs were destroyed and taken over by Cortez. Cortez built ruins on top of the Tenochtitlan and created Mexico City. That was the end of the Aztecs. I'm Michael Stano. See you later.
You may now be thinking Cortez as some sort of evil conqueror, but that isn't a justified thought. His conquest wasn't a wrong thing for him to do. Cortez just wanted to conquer Tenochtitlan because of the rumors he had heard about it from Friar Marcos when he abruptly glimpsed at it. Cortez and his army that suffered through his treacherous conquest were pretty disappointed when the city streets were not made of gold and the Aztecs were easily taken down. Cibola itself were just regular villages with lots of turquoise. I would be pretty disappointed too if I were promised a city abundant with gold and show up after a long journey to a little native village. I'd also be pretty mad at Friar Marcos too. We should favor Cortez's long and admirable conquest. His journey consisted of rough terrain, starvation, dehydration, lots and lots and lots of walking and complaints from his army. In fact, we should admire Cortez and his determination. Let's go to Jesse in the streets of Mexico City to see what people think about Cortez and the Aztecs.
Thanks, James. Currently, I'm standing here with a man who would like to tell his opinions on Hernan Cortez. Sir, what is your name?
Hey man, my name is John Stano and I love Hernan Cortez. He's doing so many great things for his country.
What is so good about him?
He stopped the Aztecs from terrorizing this great city and he established Mexico City, what I love.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Jesse. Have you ever thought that maybe there should be a holiday about Cortez instead of Christopher Columbus? Cortez deserves more credit than Columbus. Stupid Columbus. All I did was accidentally discover America and kill off Indians with disease. Cortez took a long and intense journey and conquered Tenochtitlan. Although Cortez probably killed more Indians by disease, but beside the fact, Hernan Cortez is the man. Columbus is fake. Cortez is the man of the land.
For the love of Quetzalcoatl, what are you doing in my office?
Get out of here, you Columbus lover. I have a protest to make, and I don't care if I'm in your office or not.
Not in my office. Get off me. Sorry for this disturbance, but anyway, welcome back to Learning About History with your favorite host, Jesse. Once again, I'm here with John to learn about history. Today's lesson is about Hernan Cortez' reign over the Aztecs. John, would you like to start us off?
Thanks, Jesse. Our journey begins with Hernan Cortez on his way to Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. On his way, he met a woman named Malinche. She served as Cortez's translator and advisor and told him all about the Aztecs. Malinche told Cortez that the Aztecs gained power by conquering the groups of people and sacrificed thousands of their captives to the Aztec gods. Many conquered people hated the Aztecs overlords, so Malinche helped Cortez arrange alliances with other tribes. They agreed to help Cortez fight the Aztecs. Right now, I am standing at the statue of Malinche and fully grasping the wonders of this woman, and I can say she is brave, beautiful lady. Back to you, Jesse.
Thank you, John. The emperor of the Aztecs, Moctezuma, heard about Cortez's plans to conquer his empire. Scared that Cortez might be the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl, Montezuma sent many gifts to Cortez to stop his attack. Cortez had no intention on turning back, so he kept on going. One gift Montezuma gave him was gold and silver. This made Cortez even more eager to get to the Aztecs. Eventually, Cortez finally arrived in Tenochtitlan, where Montezuma welcomed him. After the Spanish and Aztecs met each other, the Spanish sought to turn the Aztecs into Christians. At the same time, the Spanish began to discover more Aztec treasure. They decided to imprison Montezuma so they could gain control of the riches. Phew, I'm tired of talking. Back to you, John.
Okay, anyway, Cortez compelled Moctezuma to sign over his land and treasure to the Spanish. In the meantime, a new force of Spanish conquistadors had arrived on the coast to challenge Cortez. In the confusion that followed with various groups of Spanish, Aztecs, and Native Americans all fighting for control, the Aztecs drove the Spanish from the city. More than half of the Spanish were killed in the fighting, as well as Moctezuma. Cortez decided to retreat his assault, and in 1521, in a brutal struggle, Cortez and his Indian allies captured and demolished Tenochtitlan. The Spanish later built Mexico City on the ruins of Tenochtitlan. Back to you, Jesse.
Thanks so much, John. That's all we have for today. Catch you another time.
So that's the end of our story. Learning about Hernan Cortez and the Aztecs was fun, but all good things have to come to an end. I'm John Stano, and this is Bear Action Documentaries.